Ludicrous feed is proudly sponsored by Carloop, data to empower Australia's EV revolution.
Hey everyone, welcome to today's video. I'm sitting in my BYD Seal Premium and about to discuss with you the third software update I've received since taking delivery of this vehicle back in December 2023. So 3 software updates in 7 months. So roughly one every 2 to 3 months. This one is a minor one. The naming convention for BYD software updates is a bit odd. There's 2 numbers that we owners use. The official one released by BYD will be like 1.2 or 1.2.1, which is what this one is, 1.2.1. And then we also use the one in the software version itself. So this one's still 2403 at the moment. So it's just a minor update. And the only thing I can see that is different so far in the release notes, which also is different from Tesla in that it's very hard to find after the fact. When you're updating, there's a little small link which you can click to give you the release notes. But afterwards, like right now, I can't actually find the release notes easily anymore. But I did save a copy of it, and it's essentially a fix to the sensitivity of the FCTA and FCTB. That stands for front cross traffic alert and front cross traffic braking. So what that essentially is that when you're approaching a roundabout and if a car happens to be driving past you at that point, going straight from their direction in front of you, if you were too close to it, it would give an alert and it would brake, like a bit of a phantom brake almost. If you're a Tesla owner, you know what I mean. So that apparently has been fixed. It's a bit hard to test that today because obviously if that's been fixed, then you won't see any difference. But I have noticed it once since the update, so I'm not sure how much of a fix that has been. But we'll give it a test today when we go for a drive later on. But it is good to see that BYD is listening to owner feedback because that has been an issue for roundabout usage for the BYD Seal. So that's good to see. So let me show you how to actually get to the firmware version in your car. So let's swivel the camera around. So on the main screen here, go to the settings. And then you want to go to the version tab. And then if you want to upgrade the software, or if you want to check whether you've got a software update pending, you press upgrade there. Otherwise, if you press view, you will get a detail for your software version. So I won't show you that in real time. I'll just show you a screenshot. So yeah, click on view and you'll see the software version. As you can see there, 2403. That's what I'm currently on. All right, well that is a little bit of info on how to find your software version and also what this software version entails, 1.2.1, otherwise known as 2403, minor update, optimization of the front cross traffic alert and braking to help with roundabout usage. You know what, I think otherwise this car, with the software updates, it's a lot better than what the car was when I first took delivery. So the issues around delivery time were ADAS, advanced driver systems. You know, it was quite sensitive. It would actually steer the car into the other lane sometimes, which is quite dangerous, I know. That's been completely fixed. There was also issues with alerts with traffic speed sign recognition. That's been turned down a lot. When I first took delivery of the car, I used to have to turn all that off every time I drove. But now the settings are such that you don't have to touch it anymore. So I no longer have to do a pre-flight check, so to speak, to drive this vehicle. So that's all been fixed. And the lane keeping is a lot less erratic as well. So much smoother to drive. The only thing I would say about the driving experience now, and I'm about to show you that when I go for a drive, is the ICC or Intelligent Cruise Control. I find that's still not as good as it could be. Certainly not as good as other cars I've driven, including Tesla, of course. My recent road trip to the UK in the Hyundai Ioniq 5 and other eGMP cars. I find that the BYD ICC or self-drive, or whatever you want to call it, cruise control, is probably not as good as it could be. So hopefully BYD will take that on board as feedback from customers like myself and fix that over time. Otherwise, the driving experience is fine. Suspension's really good. Possibly a couple of things that could be fixed from here on as well is maybe one pedal driving. I personally don't mind too much. I sometimes switch it off actually if it's too harsh in other vehicles, but a lot of drivers and customers and potential customers are being turned off by the fact that one pedal driving is not an option. And also the auto hold function might be too sensitive at low speed. So if you're trying to feather the brakes when you're parking the vehicle, say in my garage, I need to sort of feather the brakes as I'm going into the garage. Sometimes the auto hold function takes hold too quickly, so it's a bit too sensitive. So at low speed, I think auto hold could be less sensitive. I think that could be a nice update for future software updates. So yeah, hopefully BYD, if you're listening, that's kind of my feedback for now. All right, well, let's head off and go for a drive on some urban roads and also the freeway to show what I mean about the ICC. Hopefully I can do a couple of roundabout tests as well, just to see if that has improved with the software updates. So stay tuned, more to come. All right, so wireless Apple CarPlay these days, which is fantastic. Admittedly, with Waze, the battery drain is pretty severe, so the wireless charging actually doesn't keep up very well with Waze on. And Spotify's not too bad, as is TuneIn, but yeah, Waze is a bit of a battery drain. For those who know Waze quite well, that's what happens. All right, so I'm going to go do a 3-point turn, and then we will go for a drive through some roundabouts and then on the highway as well. All right, so let's do this. Shift down, like I said, I don't do any more pre-flight checks. I find it's not necessary anymore with the improvements, with the software updates. Cameras are a bit blocked with the rain, with the water today. So keep that in mind with our drive. What can you do, right, on a rainy day? It happens. Not confined to this vehicle. I find that other cameras on other cars I've driven are the same. I suppose you could put a little hood over the camera potentially. That's one option to mitigate that. Okay, so I've got a couple of roundabouts to play with today, so hopefully we don't see any phantom braking or alerts with cars crossing. So this roundabout is clear, but as I was saying, if a car is going straight in front of you, then you'll hear, well, previously you would hear like an alert and then a phantom brake. Sometimes, not always, but sometimes it would happen. So I'm glad BYD have fixed that. Like I said, it's going to be hard to test that today. Obviously, I can't control cars going across me at a roundabout, but you'll just have to take my word that it has improved. So auto wipers in this car, which is great, works pretty well, I've got to say, and there's no phantom auto wiper usage like at the moment with Tesla, because for those who don't know, I also own a Model Y as well, but when there's bright sunshine across your windscreen, when it's not raining, for example at twilight or at sunrise, then yeah, the cameras which are used to detect the rain trigger the wipers. So there's still an issue with that, unfortunately, with auto wipers. No such issue with BYD, thankfully. With auto rain sensing wipers, works pretty well. Okay, so we're going to turn left here at Pacific Highway, and then we're going to jump onto the M1 motorway for a quick drive, and then I'll show you what I mean with the ICC. I'm still not happy with that. That's probably my one biggest gripe for now. It's not too bad if you're like on a long drive, if it's like a straight road or very minimal curves, it's okay. But once you get onto a more winding kind of highway, then it's a little bit more tricky because it doesn't quite follow the curve as well. So there's a speed camera here, so we just take note of that as we drive up to the mouth of the M1 motorway for a quick drive. Again, this is where Waze is very useful. Picks up speed cameras, not just fixed speed cameras too, obviously with highway patrol hanging around. Also good for hazards like a blocked lane, sometimes roadkill, unfortunately, on the highways. That's where it's useful. I think it's worth the battery drain, to be honest. I mean, if it is draining that bad, I sometimes stick stick the plug in as well, then it does keep up a bit better. So that's why I use Waze, because it's got real-time traffic monitoring. It'd be nice when Google finally does integrate Waze into their native mapping. Then I'll probably use Google Maps, but for now Waze is the way to go for just my general day-to-day. I use it all the time. Like I don't just use it when I'm navigating somewhere. I find it's very useful for that. Sometimes too, I guess, if I already know the route, but if it's like busy traffic, that's where navigation is still helpful, because it'll give you the best way home to avoid traffic jams, right? Waze can see more than I can't. Okay, let's pop into this lane here. What do you guys think about the indicators? That was one of the complaints from my earlier videos. I can't really tell because the mic I'm using now, which is the Rode Wireless Go, got on this lane here, is quite sensitive, so it picks up the indicators quite loudly. So what you're hearing is louder than what I'm hearing in real life. So I just want you to know that in case you find the wipers the indicators too loud. So the car I'm sitting in, for those who don't know, is what we call in Australia the BYD Seal Premium. They call this the premium variant. It's essentially the long-range rear-wheel drive vehicle. 82 kilowatt hour usable battery, LFP, lithium iron phosphate. And I've proven that even with wet weather, you can easily get 450 kilometers or kilometers for a full charge. I think in dry you can probably get closer to 500. So yeah, theoretically you could probably, and that's highway range by the way. Theoretically you could probably do one stop to Melbourne. Probably need to try that one day to prove people that it can be done. But in reality, like as I showed in my UK road trip video, you're never gonna. It's rare that you use the full charge. Just want you guys who don't own EVs to know that. It's very rare to go a full charge, like 100% down to zero, right? No one really does. Oh, what happened there? A little bit of a snap there, wasn't it? The car wanted to veer back. That's unusual. Never seen that. Haven't seen that in a while since all the updates. Just back to my point. Yeah, it's rare that people go full charge for each leg, because you generally will cycle between 80% to 20%. So you're looking more like 60% of 500, so more like 300 kilometers. Practically speaking, when you go for a road trip in any EV really, because not just because it's for safety, like you don't want to get stranded, right? But also because for charging efficiency, like between 20 and 80, that's generally speaking, that's like the sweet spot for charging. You'll get the fastest charge rate at a lower state of charge, and then depending on the charge curve of the vehicle, generally speaking, after 80%, the charge rate dies off very quickly. Despite this being an LFP battery pack, I generally will only charge to 80% because after that it's pretty slow. So you're looking at probably 20 to 30 minutes for that 20 to 80% charging time. I think anything over 30 minutes for a charging stop is personally for me too much now. When my kids were younger, it was fine because we used to take time with them to go to the bathroom and stretch and stuff. But now that my kids are teenagers on road trips, I find that anything over 30, I feel like I'm kind of just sitting there doing nothing. So yeah, I think 30 is just like on the limit. If you've got an 800 volt architecture vehicle like the EGMP cars, Porsche Taycan, then I think that's it's nice because then you're looking more like 20-minute stops. So I think that's where the value is in buying a vehicle with 800 volt architecture, because then you can your pit stops will decrease in length, which is useful for those who can't wait too long. Anyway, that's my 2 cents, and a reason why you pay more for a car that's got better charging or faster charging. Tesla's still 400 volt architecture, so you're looking at it's the same as this car, 400 volts. So you're still about a 30-minute pit stop each time. All right, so that's the highway. I might head back the other way so I can. I forgot to do the ICC because I kept chatting about charging. So we might actually go back this way, back on the M1 again. Then we can do a bit of ICC testing or intelligent cruise control. Sorry, everyone. I get distracted. All right, that's all right. Luckily, this is quite a good test here on the M1. You can just hop back on quickly. Okay, so back on the motorway. I'm not going to do an acceleration test today for you. It's just way too wet. But with this amount of power in this car, it's good enough, honestly, practically speaking. You know, how often do you actually go 0 to 100 kilometers an hour in urban settings, right? So, you know, those stats that reviewers talk about, that's fine, just to compare. But practically speaking, outside of my YouTube videos, I don't do those sprint times. All right, let's put ICC on. There we go. When you press that button straight away, it'll just match the speed that you're going at, and then you can just pump it up by... Oh, is that new? No, it's not. Up by 5 kilometers an hour every time you go up and down like that. And then when you, you've got the little green symbol there with the steering wheel, and then the lane keeping, that's basically, you know, quote unquote autopilot in Tesla, right? It's just same kind of. Let's see whether this is improved or not. Got my hands just on the wheel, so it's hard to test with such a short space of time. You'd have to go for a longer drive to really be certain. But what I do like about the BYD's ICC is that when you change lanes, it temporarily will disengage the ICC. Let's just see, it's a bit of a curve now, so let's see, just very carefully just guide the car. Okay, that's not too bad, that did pretty well. I think it's because there's a car next to me, so that does help. When you're like, you've got cars around, and I think it gauges better. Okay, so watch this, let me get out of the tunnel. So when okay, I'm gonna have to brake, the car was just too slow in front of me, but when you indicate straight away, the ICC will switch off momentarily, which is good. With Tesla's autopilot, if you try to do that, if you don't have the the full self-driving package, if you've just got basic autopilot, it won't actually switch off autopilot for you. You've got to kind of disengage it yourself. So that's one benefit. Alright, so that pretty much ends today's video. We're back on the exit now, back onto the Pacific Highway exit. And that is it, my friends. So hopefully you enjoyed that. Just a very minor update to the BYD software. Good to see them looking after us owners still with updates and listening to feedback. Hopefully they do more fine-tuning of the ICC as well in due course. Cool, well thanks everyone for watching. Stay tuned, we've got more BYD Seal content coming up of course, and just general content on the channel. Until next time, happy charging.